Hello, listeners. This is Jesse.
And this is Greg.
And you're listening to Spoilers Are Good Actually, a podcast where we watch some of our old favorite shows and talk about how knowing the ending affects our experience the second time through.
Today we're watching Avatar: The Last Airbender, Book 1, Chapter 15, Bato of the Water Tribe. The way this podcast works is we have both a spoiler section and a non-spoiler section. Non-spoiler section comes first and assumes you've only watched the show up until the current episode. The spoiler section assumes that you've watched all of Avatar, plus all of Korra, and maybe you've even read some of the extra things like the comics or the books. We will talk about anything that we know about Avatar in that section, and we highly encourage people that are listening to stay for that section. But there will be a little musical interlude if you really don't want to be there.
And one quick content note, Avatar: The Last Airbender is a kid's show, but this is not a kid's podcast. We won't be going into any darker or more mature themes than the show itself does, but we will be using adult language, so listener be warned.
This is gonna be our Shit on Aang episode. I like this episode.
Maybe.
I like this episode, and I think that this is, it's just one of those episodes where we have to show kind of the major glaring flaws in the main character and the relationship with the people that he's traveling with. So I just know that we have a tendency to get on Aang for being a child.
And by we, you mean me.
I didn't say that.
I know you didn't, but it's what you meant.
I didn't say that.
Okay. Well. Yeah, I mean, I think this episode is just all right in the scheme of the show. It's solid. It's pretty, average Avatar quality, which is still
pretty good.
But, we've had some really good episodes already.
Yeah.
So this one's, it's nice.
This is a fun episode. I like it. It's just not a banger like the Blue Spirit.
No. Okay, so do you want to go ahead and start our 10-word summaries?
Yes. My 10-word summary is Aang underestimates his friends after they ignore him all episode.
Okay. My 10-word summary is Zuko sniffs out the gang while Aang is a snake. I have to be allowed to say negative things about Aang in this episode specifically. I'm trying not to be too mean to him, but this episode is purposefully not kind to Aang.
That's true. Yeah, so this episode, while it is an Aang episode, is also very much a Sokka episode.
Yeah, I noticed that too, and honestly, season 1 as a whole is much more Sokka focused than I remember.
Mm-hmm. We spend a lot of time kind of exploring the our not superpowered guy, and I think the show is actually better for it. I like giving Sokka a little bit more depth, and I really like what we learned about Sokka in this episode. First and foremost, Sokka, in not exactly to the same degree or in the same way, but Katara focuses and fixates on her mom and the loss of her mother. And Sokka is very much affected by the loss of his father. Loss not being literally death, but that man left to, participate in the war when Sokka was very young. And Sokka didn't see him.
Yeah, it's been 2-ish years, I'm pretty sure they say.
Oh, really? I was just under the impression that was longer ago because of the flashback, where Sokka looked much younger than, 13?
Yeah, I mean, puberty's a bitch. I don't know what to say about that.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure in the extended intro of the show in the very first episode, which they also showed in the previously on for this episode, they specifically said 2 years ago their father and the rest of the tribe left.
I think you're right. That sounds right.
But I think it is 13 and 15. Mm-hmm. Maybe a young 13 and an older 15, but
yeah, 2 years ago. But we see that it's a thing that really affects Sokka. This is where he gets a lot of his kind of sexist masculine ideas.
Yeah.
This idea that he has to be the one to protect his sister and the tribe, and this is how men work. But we also saw a lot of like really cool world building around the Water Tribe, kind of through Bato and Sokka.
I love all of the information that we get about the Water Tribe in this episode, because they just throw in so many little like tidbits here and there. Ice dodging is terrifying, though.
Right?
Seems like maybe not a good idea when the population of your tribe is dwindling to take people on dangerous, deadly rites of passage, but that's just me.
Still doing it. Still doing it. Got it. 14, the perfect age to do a stupid thing that might get you killed.
Oh my god.
And with Dad's permission? Hell yeah. We're not telling Mom. We know Mom doesn't approve at all. Mom would kill Dad and me if we did it, so we're gonna do it.
Oh my god.
No, and then there's just like that entire scene where they were like in the tent. We saw this weird the ceremonial dress thing that Aang messed with. They were eating sea prunes. They
stewed sea prunes.
They apparently fucking love stewed sea prunes.
Oh yeah, that's a thing. That's a bit.
Yeah, collecting pelts. It's just an aspect of their culture. Like there were just a lot of small things that we just see, and that just like were they brought it to our attention throughout the episode. That was really cool. We'll talk about it more, but like Aang didn't react the appropriate way when being like exposed to another culture, right?
Yeah.
I kind of want to take our Aang discussion out of the Sokka discussion, because we have a lot to say and I have a lot of things to say.
Okay.
But like the biggest thing I wanted to talk about here was that like they are a meat eating culture. Right?
Yep.
It's a big thing. We've seen this from Sokka a lot. And they're serving Aang sea prunes. And sorry, Aang, you can't be picky at this point. You've either got to find something else or you've got to like suck it up, because there's just not that many other options anymore.
Okay, you're assuming sea prunes are meat?
No. I'm assuming that the Water Tribe typically eats meat. And in this case, they're not eating meat. And one of the few times they don't get meat, Aang's like, ugh, it's kind of gross.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Okay.
Like,
yeah, I've always assumed it was some kind of plant.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. And it's like, well, it's very rare for them to serve you plants, Aang.
It's true. In fact, I feel like there is a pretty high possibility that Katara was like, can we do that? Because Aang doesn't eat meat.
Right. Like, so I can easily see that. But yeah.
And he's in here like, you use the animal products.
So,
which, like, listen, I don't like taxidermy either. Shit creeps me out. It's gross. I think for the most part in our modern society, that shit is not necessary.
We're not in modern society.
But that's not where we are in the Avatar universe. This is Aang being exposed to, like, some really important facets of the culture of his two best friends and found family. And he's just kind of shitting all over it, which for someone who is the last like bastion of his own culture, feels like maybe he should understand better.
Yeah, we'll come back to it though.
Sorry. You literally just said that you wanted to move past it and I kept going.
The next thing I wanted to talk about was just that like Sokka also like casually brings up, we see he's really smart. This guy's really fucking smart. The very first scene we see with them is Sokka just showing that he can casually track. He was like, there was a fight here. This is a Water Tribe weapon. I can recognize this immediately. They're scorch marks, so there were firebenders here. I can tell who attacked who else. I can tell the direction of the fight. And I can tell, what was going on. And to the point where Aang was like, what happened next? Sokka was like, the trail runs cold, But then we say, like, Bato's ship. And he recognizes the ship as from his father's fleet. Sokka's very, like, he has a very military mind. And he, either his dad trained him when he was young, or he's just very perceptive and very clever and figured these things out more or less on his own.
I think a little bit of both.
Probably. Like, I think I can imagine the Hakoda, like, probably taught his kids some basic survival skills just generally. And, you know...
I can imagine that he really emphasized... you said being perceptive.
Right.
And I think that's probably something that he probably tried to, like, instill in him as a very important skill.
Right, yeah.
For, like, a warrior, for a leader.
Yeah, and also a group of people that hunt for their food.
Yeah.
Right?
So, like, that's true. A lot of that is probably, like, secondary from learning how to hunt also. But at the same time, it's very Sherlock.
Yeah.
It's very like, the scorch marks are only on this side of the tree, and this arrowhead was facing this direction.
So it had to have been going in that direction.
Yep.
So it had to have gone. Yeah, no, like it's really cool. And then even in the final fight, Sokka was the one that came up with the idea to use the perfume. That's a lot of money, by the way.
Yep. Also, what I was thinking, I was like, you guys gonna pay?
Wow.
This like what? Abby is the word I'm talking about. You're gonna pay these women for the like year's livelihood that you just dumped on the ground.
Oh my god!
You couldn't have at least like just picked 1 cent of perfume.
It's like, what's the cheapest perfume that you guys have in bulk? Can we use that and throw it in lava? Anyway, but like
Katara's not gonna be able to separate those perfumes out when she waterbends them back into their pots. That's just gonna be stanky.
But yeah, so but like, you know, Sokka came up with that plan. He was It was really, you know. I liked that they kept that through line. This guy's your plan guy.
He is the plan guy. He just also thought very quickly on his feet during the quote-unquote ice dodging to have them water bend over the rocks.
I did have a note on that. That was a rare occasion where Sokka took an unnecessary risk. At that point of the ice dodging, Bato was like, you're good. You don't have to prove yourself anymore. It's like you can make
it. Like shit, I do. Of course, I still have to prove myself.
It seemed like if they wanted to, they could have stopped and turned around. But Sokka said, "We can make it. Aang, airbend, Katara, waterbend." Like he was like, "I have the resources to make it past this thing. There's no reason for me to slow down." But that's not normally Sokka's like MO.
Yeah.
He's I mean, you know, typically Sokka's like the first one to be like, this we don't need to be doing anymore.
He does lean towards being more pragmatic.
Yeah. And I think a part of that is just the fact that this is that rite of passage that he didn't get to have with his father last year.
Yeah.
This is the thing that I didn't get to do. I have to be able to do this. You know, there's like an element of like his identity kind of tied up into this.
Yeah, it's huge for him.
Yeah. And so, of course, he's going to take those risks. But yeah.
It's not good enough for him to just, like, pass. He needs to be exemplary. He needs to be the smartest and the cleverest and the strongest.
Yeah, he has to be a good leader. And he got this same mark that his father got, which was a very nice little, like, thing that they threw in there.
Yeah.
Loved it. It was good. But yeah, I mean, that's most of what I had to say about Sokka. Yeah, I don't know if there was anything else you wanted to talk about there.
I mean, just his flashback scenes. He was so cute.
That child
Little
was
baby
adorable.
Sokka
But yeah,
was so adorable.
But weren't we? Yeah, I was basing my impression of his age off of that, right? Like I was like, so Hakoda had to have left a long time ago. Forgetting, of course, that they said the number of years earlier.
Yeah, like 10 minutes ago.
They straight up told me. Because I was like, that child looks like he's 8. And
he does seem
so
quite
cute.
young. And he's got that voice. I don't know. I mean, it sounded like it was literally just Jack DeCina trying to sound young.
I mean, that's
Which
correct.
is probably what it was.
Yeah.
Dad, I gotta go with you, Dad. I don't understand.
I'm sorry, son.
Oh my god. That was just a lot of fun. He's so small.
Very cute. Yeah. Anything else for Sokka?
No, I think I'm ready to talk about Aang.
All right.
I've been ready to talk about Aang.
So, you know,
Snake.
Yeah, she's making snake noises. First of all, this entire thing really does hit on kind of one of his core fears. Being alone, being left alone, not having people anymore. That, that's kind of central because, last time he left people, he woke up 100 years later. That was I emphasized weird words there. He woke up 100 years later and all of his friends and family were dead. So I can at least, I'm going to start off by not necessarily like excusing it, but at least understanding, right? The reasons why Aang does what he does.
Oh yeah, it makes complete sense.
But it's also
very in character. It's a very like understandable mistake to make.
But it's also just really bad.
It's really immature.
Yeah.
To react to the very like normal and valid feelings that he's having by like lying about something this huge. And it's not like this is a particularly, unique plot. We see stuff like this all the time.
Right.
Immediately thought of Kipo.
Oh, yeah, with Wolf.
Yeah. So, we get it. I think he is still very sympathetic for how much of a snake he's being.
Yeah. But God, Aang. I think the most damning thing in my mind is that like when he heard Bato say, we've got to, you can stay with us and we can, see your father or whatever. Aang didn't stay and hear his friend's reaction. He just assumed the worst. And I think that was the worst part of it to me.
I mean, you don't have much patience for, like, miscommunication plots.
That's true.
So that makes sense why you would find that particularly frustrating.
Yeah.
Because it is a bit of a, like, if you had just fucking talked to each other, this wouldn't be an issue.
Right. And usually that's more of a meta, like, I don't like the fact that you structured your story in this way. This time the frustration is more Aang, like, within the plot, right? Like, Aang, stay. Please stay. Just have a little bit more faith in your friends. Trust them a little bit more. And so, I'm less upset that they had a miscommunication plot than I am that, like...
Yeah, he didn't give them a chance to answer.
Yeah.
Before he got upset and left.
Right. And I just wish, because, again, if he'd stayed those last 2-3 minutes, he would have heard Katara and Sokka straight up say, we can't do it.
Yeah.
Also, I have an ignored count for just the number of times Aang, the child, the one that like just apparently really needs the attention the most, just was straight up ignored by his two friends and Bato.
Yeah.
5 times is what I got.
Okay.
First of all, the very moment they met Bato, they like Sokka and Katara recognized them, ran up, said, hey, whatever. And then Aang said, hi, I'm Aang. There was no acknowledgement of him saying that. Like, Bato didn't say hi back. Katara and Sokka continued their conversation with Bato. What I have written is meeting the sisters and then what smells. I think what was happening was when Bato took them to the Abbey and they were like saying hey to the sisters and everything. Aang said, hey, what smells? No. Aang was saying something else. Sokka said what smells. And Aang was saying, I don't even know what he was talking about.
They just interrupted him.
Sokka interrupted him, said, what smells? And the sisters were like, this place has perfume, right? But, cool. Third one was, somebody was talking about, like, writing animals. Bato, I think, was. Aang was like, I write animals, too. Again, they just ignored him in the conversation. Same scene later on, Aang tried to bring up something else, and Sokka brought up the blubber fiasco. And then... the 5th one was the important one where they were like, you can see your father again. And Aang straight up left. They didn't notice that he left. They didn't notice that he was gone when Katara and Sokka said, no, we can't do it. And we know that because when Aang returned, Katara was like, I didn't even know you were gone.
Yep.
Which is a little bit wild to me. But, that's all. So 5 times. 5 times were like, the show was like, hey, Aang is trying to communicate and connect to a degree, and it's he's not getting any reaction from these people that are very excited about seeing Bato and their family, whatever. Doesn't excuse what Aang did, but it helps put you in the mindset of Aang at the time, especially since Aang, again, is a 12-year-old who's been through some traumatic shit.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest problem with that is just that Aang is, you said trying to connect, but he's very much trying to insert himself.
That's true.
And he's being still kind of like self-centered, and he just wants to talk about himself, and he's not content listening to these stories.
That's very true.
Could they have done a better job including him? Yeah.
Sure.
When he asked about a story, they should not have just said that's too long of a story.
Yeah.
Obviously, the whole point of this interaction is that both of them are not communicating. I don't think either party, Aang or Sokka and Katara, like as a unit, neither of those two groups did anything particularly wrong when it comes to them trying to talk.
Yeah, I think that here it's less about placing blame and more about just figuring out what's going on. But you're right.
Yeah, you're right.
A lot of Aang's interactions were more, hey, pay attention to me. I have things to say too. Please don't just talk without me. I would like to be here too. And
1 out of those 5, he was trying to ask them things. But for the most part, it was just him trying to butt in.
Yeah.
You're right. I do have a tendency to go straight to who is to blame. I know that's just a problem that I have in general. But that isn't the point.
Yeah. A lot of times though, a lot of narratives just they make it very clear that somebody's in the wrong. So I like the fact that we had a little bit of both here. But
in general, I do like that Avatar doesn't have a lot of cut and dry, right and wrong.
Except
clearly,
when it's
you're
important.
supposed to be able to agree with one party or the other.
Right. There are times when they are very clear about cut and dry, right and wrong, when one nation wants to take over the world. But generally, for these interpersonal things, you could there usually sides more right than the others, but
it's more complicated than that, because real life is more complicated than that.
Yeah.
To Aang's credit, he did fess up on his own.
He does. He is a softie.
He never says the words, I'm sorry. But he does confess, of his own volition. He doesn't, get caught or get found out.
He does have he has a conscience that will eat him up alive. There's no way he could carry out, even without the ice dodging adventure, give him 12 hours at most.
Yeah. And he's conflicted about it because he sticks it in his pocket. He doesn't throw it into the ocean, which he could have done. He could have just destroyed it, but he doesn't do that.
Yeah. Because
he's just I want to buy myself more time.
Yeah. At the end of the day, he really does. He doesn't want to hurt Sokka and Katara. He doesn't if he could continue traveling with them and have them see Hakoda, he would do that. And he just did. He only saw it as one or the other. I can't have both. That's not happening.
Yep.
And I can't have them leave.
Yeah. So I will give him, again, some credit for coming clean. Just clearly this was something that he was struggling with and having a bunch of internal conflict over what to do.
Yeah.
And he wasn't just decisively well, they're never going to know about that.
Bye.
So that does look good for him. But again, he doesn't apologize, which bothers me so much.
Yeah.
Just because this is becoming a pattern now. Whenever Aang has a conflict with other people in the group, it's usually pretty complicated. Most people have things to apologize for. Aang is never the one who apologizes.
Yeah.
He shows them the paper. They get mad at him. He goes, but wait, you have to understand. And then they cut him off and they walk away. And then the next time we see him, he's just swooping in fighting. And then they're on Appa at the end.
Yeah.
And they don't address it. They don't say anything. They're well, no, you saved us, so we don't have to worry about this, lie that you told us anymore. Which is just, honestly, probably more a result of them trying to, keep the time down more than anything, right? And trying to keep it very like clean and succinct and fit in 22 minutes and tell the full, thorough, rounded story.
Yeah. Like they were like, the apology scene is less important than Katara receiving her necklace.
Yeah.
Which is fair, but you can also combine those two. I could have easily seen Aang being like, I really want to apologize for yada,
Oh my god, that would have been so much better.
Also,
instead of that weird like cocky shit that he did. Like, it would have been so nice if that final scene was him being like, guys, I really want to apologize again. Like, I'm sincerely sorry. You guys are really important to me. Also
is the necklace.
I got this.
Yeah, that would have been good. It didn't happen, but, it would have been good. Next thing I wanted to talk about was just the Fire Nation stuff, generally. Just Iroh and Zuko were kind of a unit this time around. This wasn't about exploring Zuko too much. Got things to say about Iroh this time around, too, but... Iroh was kind of gross this episode.
Yeah, I prefer to ignore it. Because it's like... Listen, he's a flirty old man as his personality, but this is the, like, weirdest and creepiest he gets.
Yeah, it's just...
I don't like it, and, I don't even consider this a spoiler to say in the non-spoiler section, like, he doesn't do shit like this.
Yeah.
Moving forward.
The thing
he is still a very, again, just, like, casually flirty with everyone.
Yeah.
And that can be endearing. But it's such a hard, like, line to walk just because of, like, fucking, like, reality and society and patriarchy.
Yeah.
For old men to be weird and flirty when that makes you uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah, but, like, that we know what scene it is. The one where June gets whipped by the Shirshu, and he's holding her when she's paralyzed, and Zuko calls him out. Not okay, dude. Just not okay. It's kind of weird. But yeah, we also got a lot of we got to see Zuko and Iroh and June backtracking back to the last few episodes, visiting locales. Fun. I was like, oh, that's the old lady from the frog episode. And of course I didn't think of it as the Blue Spirit episode. I straight up wrote the frog episode.
Well, because that's why she was relevant in that episode. Was the frogs.
And then they saw the fortune teller, and she was hitting on him, and
I ship it.
And he was like, yeah, at my age, there's only one surprise left, and I'd rather keep that a mystery. I thought that was fun.
Yeah, it's one of his better jokes this episode. The Shirshu itself, pretty fucking cool. I
love that thing. We were saying
kind of creepy and weird.
It's part of the fun of it, though. Yeah, like we were talking about how like it looks like it's like a combination between like an anteater and a mole or something like that.
Yeah, because I was a little taken aback by the fact that it wasn't like a combination of names,
right? Like
most animals in this universe are.
So you looked it up to see if
I did. I did some research on it because I was just like, I don't know, is this like a mythical creature in some like legend that I've never heard of before? Is it just something from the show? It's just from the show.
What's its name?
Nyla. This one specifically, her name is Nyla.
The Shirshu's
I love
name is
that.
Nyla.
June's Shirshu is named Nyla. But yeah, there's a lot of fun information from like the Kyoshi books.
Non-spoiler section.
What? Okay. Well, I will tell you what I learned about the history of Shirshus in the spoiler section, just to be safe, because some people are very particular about what they consider a spoiler. So I'm going to be respectful, and we can hold off on that conversation for now.
How do you feel about June?
So June is the type of character that typically I love. I love mean, sexy ladies who will step on me, 100%. But she's kind of mean to animals, which is a deal breaker.
Right. Yeah, no,
I do not like her use of the whip.
Yeah, during the fight, every time she and her Shirshu, Nyla, got knocked off of anything, she immediately stood up, whipped either the Shirshu or next to the Shirshu, and said, "Get up!" And it was very clear that like that thing looks like it's been trained to like fear that whip, and react to it very quickly.
Yeah, I don't like it.
No. Aside from that,
she
she's
does actively whip Appa.
Yes.
I mean, they're fighting.
They're
so
fighting.
It's fair, but still.
Yeah, like I can only hold that against her so much. She is fighting, and she's fighting for a lot of gold. But like,
she's not kind of animals.
She's not kind of animals.
But she's so good at arm wrestling.
Sorry, I'm a little low on money. No,
Drinks on me.
She was great. I enjoyed the energy. She was a lot of fun.
Very funny.
But yeah, like, don't have too much else to say about June. She was a fun character. That's just a little too mean to animals. No, I wanted to talk about how in the fight scenes, like we had some really cool things going on in the fight scene. First of all, the well thing has always been and always will be one of my favorite parts of any Avatar fight.
Yeah, it's so fun.
Because like it's just like Aang constantly trying to dodge Zuko, and he's doing really well, and then he goes into the well, like into the like little posts that are in the well, and then he's dodging within those, and Zuko's systematically destroying it too. Breaks off one, Aang's only hanging by 3. Breaks off a second one, he's hanging by 2. Dodges him, breaking off the entire thing, and then they're both on the well, and then he jumps in the water, and Zuko does what I would have done, which is burn down the well, and then he gets his ass whooped like I would have gotten my ass whooped. Because there's water in a fucking well, and Aang's a waterbender.
No, that is a really fun kind of fight sequence. It's another one that is very in character, with Aang just like dodging all over the place, hopping around, trying at all costs to not have to do any kind of offense.
Yeah. And
just doing fucking gymnastics to stay out of the way, and Zuko's just trying to brute force. Like, I don't care if I'm destroying this entire well, I am going to hit you one of these times.
Yeah. And he never does.
And then it blows up in his face.
Like everything always
does.
Ooh. There's and then there's that one part where Aang was waking up from the explosion that firebending and airbending did. And he like looks and sees Zuko with his like arms like at a like a 45-degree angle with like the fire flame, and he like aims it at Aang, who's on the ground, and then they fight, and then Zuko's knocked on the ground, and then he wakes up and he sees Aang with his arms at a 45-degree angle, getting ready to like fire this.
All that happened on the roof.
Yeah.
I loved that roof.
That was just like they were very dynamic throughout the entire fight. We even got Appa in on the action. Appa was doing really, holding his own against a clearly trained unit of fighters. And then Sokka finally woke up because one of the ladies of the Abbey was like, I've got
smell this stinky shit.
I have Anti-Paralysis Stink. And
hold on.
Writing that down. Yeah, I mean, then Sokka wins the fight.
Yeah.
They waste so much perfume. Oh my god. But yeah.
Yeah. Doubling back to the bit on the roof real quick.
Yeah.
I like them imitating each other's moves because it's just starting to like sprinkle in the ways that the different bending styles learn from each other.
Yeah.
And this is clearly like Aang emulating a firebending move to use his airbending in a much more like aggressive attack focused way than he ever does.
Yeah.
Into this just like swoopy, slicey air bit.
It's really cool. So yeah, even
great.
though I will say that like there were parts of this fight scene that I didn't particularly like they just did some weird things with the camera sometimes. They did a lot of interesting
The choreography
things.
was great.
Yeah, it was really cool. That is the last thing I have to say in the non-spoiler section. I'm sorry.
Cool. Time for the golden fuck.
I've only got one. You said you've got 3?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's kind of 2.5, but...
Cool. The one I have is when Zuko tracks down Sokka and Katara. And they're like... He's like, where's the Avatar? And he's like, I don't know. I don't have him. We separated. How stupid do you think I am? Pretty fucking stupid. Run! And that was it. Oh, shit, we did it. We finally did it.
It only took 14 episodes, but we finally came up with the same nomination. I also wrote that down.
Pretty fucking stupid.
Oh my god. That's so good.
Excellent.
I amazing.
We can just give that one to Sokka now.
Yeah. So, like, my other two also would be for Sokka.
Okay.
So, Sokka gets it.
Hell yeah.
Again,
Hell yeah.
Amazing.
Hell yeah.
He's doing pretty well.
This, like, and if you had to have me guess who would win the Golden Fuck overall through the season, and I haven't counted for the record, I would have guessed at the beginning it's either going to be Zuko or Sokka. Mm-hmm. One of those two. Someone's very angry or just someone who would say fuck a lot.
Yeah.
That's it. All right, sorry.
I am keeping track, though, on our Twitter, @SpoilersAreGood, if you would like to see a thread of all of the previous Golden Fucks so far. Just saying.
Hell yeah.
So my second one was, I think, right after that, when they get hit by the Shearshoe and fall over. Sokka could also say fuck then. That would also be a good time. Mm-hmm. And then later on in the Abbey, they're kind of half paralyzed talking, and a whole bunch of rubble falls on their head.
Yeah.
And that would also be a good time for
fuck. I've got some feeling in my arms.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Pretty fucking stupid is still the best one, though.
Yeah, easily.
Great. Finally, time to move on to the spoiler section. Okay, I just want to get this out of the way.
Yeah.
Because this is not a Zutara episode. But I do want to bring this up.
Your girlfriend.
June calls Katara his girlfriend twice, and he does not deny it. Which, on its own is pretty fun in this episode. Non-spoilery. You could even say, like, that's kind of funny. Like, that's, maybe I ship that. But what I really think is that it makes the later seasons, when in season 3 and he's joined the group and June and other people are like jokingly referring to Katara as his girlfriend. Mm-hmm. At that point, they both make it a point to like blush and step apart from each other and say, she's not my girlfriend. You didn't care before. What has changed now that is an accusation that you feel the need to defend? Is it 'cause it's true? Is it because you love her? Maybe.
I wish.
Just saying.
I'm sure you can hear it, but I wish you could see Jesse just getting closer and closer to the microphone.
Oh my god. So yeah, I don't want to dwell on that, but I couldn't not say anything. Mm-hmm. So good a place to start as any.
That was fun. While we're on the topic of Katara, a thought that I had was that even if they did separate, and they very much made it look like they were going to go their separate ways, I think Katara still would have gone to the North Pole. I think that there's just too much ingrained in her like desire to learn more about waterbending and become the like waterbending master that we all know she can be.
Yeah.
Plus, who she is as a person, she can't abandon Aang. She just can't. She would have found her way to the North Pole regardless.
Yeah, I think that they probably would have like gotten to their dad and stayed like a week and then been like, okay, we gotta go. We gotta move on. Like we can meet him up there.
Right. If nobody else, Hakoda would have been like, you gotta go. You guys, you're with the Avatar. You've got to go.
Yeah, I mean, I think in order of people who would bring up the fact that they need to leave, Katara, then Hakoda, then Sokka.
Yeah, think Sokka, which is funny actually because Sokka was the one that was like, no, we've got to stay with Aang at the end of this episode. That's
fair, but just like if they got to the point where they were already with their family,
right?
But no, it was kind of his thing where he was like, I've been abandoned like a lone wolf. Bato, I too know what it feels like.
That was
to be cut off from the pack. That was a little unnecessary.
It was really on the nose. It was hilarious how shoehorned it was. Do we see Bato ever again? I think he might show up in the day. No, he does. I'm pretty sure he does. Day of Black Sun, he's there.
Yeah, right? Definitely.
Yeah.
He comes back.
Yeah, cool. This is
fucking lone wolf separated from the pack. Come on.
It was just a very cliche and kind of shoehorned in scene. You could have had almost anything happen that made Sokka feel guilty about leaving Aang. You could have literally had Sokka standing, like looking around for like 5 to 10 seconds and then stop and then have him come to that conclusion. Yeah. You didn't need that. Because
and no offense, Bato, but I don't fucking care about you.
Nobody cares about Bato.
Nobody cares about Bato. He's fine. He just doesn't matter. I don't care about your emotional turmoil when you had to leave. We just needed to focus on the bit where Sokka felt abandoned.
I wish they went into like how and why Bato got separated from his, like, ostensibly it was the battle, right? Like, maybe
they just said he got injured.
Yeah, and they had to go ahead. I want more out of like what the Water Tribe warriors are doing. Exactly.
That's true. Right? That's a good question that doesn't really get answered. Like, what have they been up to for 2 years?
Yeah, it looks
quote unquote helping fight the war.
It looks like they're doing raids on like isolated Fire Nation locations. That's my impression. First of all, they're not that big of a fleet from what we've seen.
Yeah.
And like even this battle was right near an abbey, and I think that's like the most valuable thing we see in the entire episode. Like,
yeah, I imagine that they're like patrolling the coastlines of these like colony areas.
Yeah, probably something like that, where it's like these are mainly civilians that aren't really getting into the war, and the Water Tribe warriors Southern Tribe warriors are mainly just protecting those areas from like the outskirts of the war or whatever.
It's interesting. It's one of the only times that we actually see war happening outside of our main little group.
Yeah.
Doing battles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But presumably there's the Earth Kingdom soldiers fighting Fire Nation soldiers all over the place.
Ostensibly it's happening constantly. And there was that episode in season 2 where like we see the soldiers and the generals like, these are the lucky ones, they came back, right?
Yeah.
And like ostensibly this war is happening around the world. And we know from the size of the Southern Water Tribe, they can't cover that much territory. They're just not that big. You want to talk about sheer shoes,
anyway, I did want to talk about the sheer shoes. Sheer shoes.
These are from the Kyoshi books?
Yeah. Okay. I was literally just reading like the Avatar wiki trying to find some more information about this creature. And basically it was saying that they were a pretty like commonplace creature a long time ago in the Earth Kingdom. But, still, like, royalty had them as pets.
Right.
But they basically thought they went extinct until literally June's Shearshoe.
Huh.
But it was her mom's who passed it down to her. Oh. And her mom was also a bounty hunter.
Huh.
So that is, like, the only known Shearshoe in existence right now.
Bounty hunter fucking family with so Shearshoes are still basically extinct.
Yeah.
Unless they pull an Aang.
So yeah.
Okay.
Just, for posterity, that is here in the spoiler section. For those who might think that is too much information on its own.
No, I only had one small thing. I had 2 things actually. The other one's bigger, and we'll talk about that later. I want to talk about Iroh and his track record with the ladies, because this again is a rather anomalous set of behaviors from him.
Yeah.
At the same time, I think June is like the only woman of her like general age that Iroh interacts with at all.
Yeah, that's fair.
So like
it's all teenagers and old ladies.
It's all teenagers and old ladies, and Iroh is a player with the old ladies. We saw it; they love it. Everyone's enjoying ourselves except for Zuko.
Just the theme.
It's just how it is. And I don't even blame Zuko. If I, like, my grandpa is a good looking man, but like, I just don't want to see him flirting with ladies. But yeah, no, it's just like, I just wanted to, like, it's worth calling attention to it because we can just choose to interpret it however the fuck we want. And because we can do that, we can just go, that was weird and kind of not normal for Iroh. But there's also just like the alternative, which is like, maybe that is how he is. And that's kind of creepy. Bless you, Julie.
I am sure that the microphone picked up that sneeze.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, we had to acknowledge it. Our dog is in here.
Our dog's in here.
He's a very stinky baby.
I really don't feel like bringing up the point again because it's just something that I thought about and wanted to say. But like since I can interpret the canon however the fuck I want, I choose to interpret that as being Iroh on an off day. He's not normally like that.
Yeah, it is interesting, though, to point out that we don't really see many adult women at all. Very much along the lines of we don't see mothers.
Mm-hmm.
There's teenagers and there are old women, but there are men of all ages.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That means absolutely nothing, and there's nothing that we can say about the decisions in the show at all.
It's fine.
It's just a thing that you noticed. This does also kind of doesn't break, but does cut against the like theory we had before about like all the old people being a part of the White Lotus, because the two old ladies that we theorized were in the White Lotus didn't seem to recognize Iroh. Now, the reason why it doesn't break it is because, first of all, the White Lotus could be a huge organization, and you just happen to not know him. Or they could just be pretending to not know each other. Like,
yeah, I didn't see anything that indicated either way, whether they knew each other or not.
That's true. Yeah. Like, it's not, they didn't seem to react to each other in the way that you would if you like saw the head of your organization or whatever.
But it is
like,
secret.
It's a secret organization. You're supposed to be like, yeah, who are you? Would you like your fortune, sir? Maybe that was the fortune teller asking Iroh, hey, do you need White Lotus stuff? And he's like, no, actually I don't. Thank you though.
Mayhaps.
Yeah. That was that. Keep
cool.
going.
I wanted to talk a little bit more about Katara and Aang. In this episode, I am going to try to like tamper my anger and frustration, because this is not an anti-Aang podcast. Okay? I don't hate Aang. Aang is fine. He's not my favorite character. He can be very relatable and likable at times, but I don't hate him. It's just that I hate the pairing of Katara and Aang romantically with such a passion.
Yeah, I mean,
and it is mostly because of the way that Aang acts.
We will say with confidence that we are not an anti-Aang podcast, but we are an anti-Katang podcast. I don't think we'll stand by that opinion, and that's just how it is.
I mean, I respect pretty much any ship that people like care about and enjoy. There are very few where I would even go as far as saying I think it is a bad pairing. Katang is one of them. But like, if you're listening to this and you still really like Katang and you think it's cute and romantic, that is your prerogative, and like, that's fine. I'm not trying to say there's anything wrong with you. Yeah, but I hate Katang. I hate Katang. I don't hate Aang. I hate that pairing. And again, here we see in this episode more examples of why I think this would be a bad fucking pairing.
Explain.
I mean, obviously, the stuff that I already ranted about with, his lying and how he didn't ever have to apologize, as opposed to other conflicts that they've had where she apologized and he still did not have to.
Right.
Once again, like, mostly Sokka, but also Katara being put in the position of being like the bigger person, a parental or older sibling role of just, again, like forgiving a child for being childish, as opposed to two children having a conflict.
Yeah.
Don't like that. I did get, it sounds mean what I was about to say. I was about to say I get a kick out of when Katara, like, turns away from Aang. Which is, it sounds very mean. It's not funny. It's just, like, appropriate and in character. Because one fucking thing we know about Katara is that she does not take kindly to betrayal lies.
That was actually a big thing where, like, at that point, if there was any doubt in your mind, Aang, here is how you know you crossed a line. Mm-hmm. Like, even Katara is not willing to be forgiving of this, like, particular instance.
Until she is.
Right.
Because he saved them and got her necklace, and that resolves the conflict. Whatever. I'd just be saying the same things over again about why I think that's not a good resolution to this plot.
And Aang never gave that kiss to Zuko either.
I don't want to go there. Another ship that I do not think is good. Exists. Don't like it. Zuko, however. You can't see my face. I'm making a good one.
I'm going to be honest. It took me way too long to realize that is Zuko and Sokka.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm sitting here like, that one's Sokko.
Sokko! Oh my god. One last thing regarding Aang and Katara, I'm sorry, before we move on, is just this is the first glimpse of Aang not fucking respecting her culture.
Yeah.
Which is a huge issue in their relationship that is never addressed and becomes a problem, as we see in Korra, where he puts his fucking air nomad culture over his family and over Katara's culture. And he's sitting here, he always has to be judgmental about them eating meat.
Yeah. I get that you're not comfortable around the like pelts. Okay? I understand that. You can express that a little bit differently.
Like, how are you not picking up on the fact that Sokka and Katara are absolutely elated to see somebody that they consider family again after 2 years? And that all of these things surrounding them and the food and the pelts and the stories are them, like, connecting with their home in a way that they haven't. They literally left their home to risk their lives for you. And you're going to come in here and just complain about it the whole time when they want to, like, do things that remind them of home and make them feel at home.
Yeah.
As we pointed out earlier, they probably went out of their way to make sea prunes because it was vegetarian.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I have to believe that if it wasn't vegetarian, he wouldn't have tried it.
Right.
Because he tried it and said that's gross and then doesn't eat it.
Yeah. No.
If it had meat in it, he wouldn't have even tried it. He would have politely been like, thanks, I don't eat meat.
Yeah.
But no, it seems like that was something they made so that he would have something to eat that didn't have food in it, and he just shat on it.
Didn't have meat in it.
Oh my god. That makes me sound like Sokka. I don't even eat very much meat.
Honestly, I can imagine if they had served meat, I think Aang would have been politer.
Yeah.
because he's very used to rejecting meat at this point in his life. He's done it several times in over the course of this. I don't know. We do see him reject meat on multiple occasions.
Yeah.
But you know, it's either way. I did want to talk a little bit more about Aang from the side of, like, how we see this central internal fear, like, manifesting itself again. Like, we've talked about it before. Like, it's a huge thing that he can't be alone. He doesn't like being left alone. He very much depends on this found family that he has, and it shows up. I think the most obvious one is in the episodes with the Chopras, right? Mm-hmm. Where he's talking about the family that he lost and loved, replaced by the love of Katara. Like, his fear of, like, his own survival, because at the end of the day, this is this threat is one that's being built up to being one that he might have to face alone. And near the end of the series, he even says, like, I know I have to do this alone.
I mean, I roll my eyes at any statement like that.
That's
not the point.
It's such an anime protagonist thing.
Yeah, I mean, I also have problems with the Guru Patik, that's his name, right?
Yeah.
And the chakras from an anti-Katang standpoint.
Right.
And I think that it would have fit the theming of the show even better if that had been more about, like,
they should
choosing this, like, found family attachment instead of a romantic attachment.
I agree with you. I think that what they should have done was shown not just Katara, but also Sokka and Toph, and Appa and all, like, in Momo, like, having all of them. But, they also had that intentionally for the, like, he gives up ultimate power because he senses Katara's in trouble. We'll get to that when we get to that finale. I fucking love season 2.
Yeah, Crossroads of Destiny is an excellent episode.
But yeah.
But just it would have been more powerful if it had kept with this theme specifically. I don't think that you would have had to change much at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But they had to be Katang.
Specifically the line, like, 3 chakras ago, that was a good thing. But yeah, no, I do like seeing this, Aang's very reasonable and very, like, profound fear of being left alone. Like, he again, he can't be left alone. He very much needs his friends to be there, because last time he lost everyone.
Yeah, I mean, if there is one thing to take away from this episode, it's that fear of abandonment is a very, like, universal struggle, and pretty much every character in this episode has to grapple with that to some degree.
Even Bato. Even
Bato, the lone wolf.
Even that actual lone wolf.
All right, so that's all we have today for Book 1, Chapter 15, Bato of the Water Tribe. We hope you'll join us next time when we talk about Chapter 16, The Deserter. Until then, you can find us on Twitter @SpoilersAreGood. On Twitter, we, like I said earlier, keep track of the Golden Fucks. We sometimes have polls, updates on episodes, so please go ahead and give us a follow if you can. Also, if you're enjoying this podcast, please give us a like or rating. It actually really does help with visibility if you do leave, hopefully a 5-star rating, but, like, if you hate us, that's fine too.
Yeah.
We just like to hear from you. That's all.
I also wanted to let people know, if you guys are interested in keeping up with the series with us, if you are listening to this before July 10th and you'd like to catch up with us, send us your nominations for a Golden Fuck, anything like that. We generally try to watch an episode per week.
Yeah, and we like to stay a week or two ahead just because life happens and we don't want to have to skip a week if we don't have to.
Yeah.
Can I see the calendar real quick? Yeah, this episode should be going up on July 6th.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, people actually have time to watch.
So if you want to be caught up, today, the day we are releasing this episode, is July 6th. This weekend, we will be watching episode 17, The Eastern Air Temple. So if you want to be in line with our recording in order to give us nominations for the Golden Fuck on Twitter, again, @SpoilersAreGood, that is where you should be.
Yeah. All right. And with all that out of the way,
thank you guys so much for listening.
And always remember, just because it's spoiled doesn't mean it's rotten. Bye.
Bye.
Did I just? I'm emphasizing really weird syllables today. Syllables.
We better call somebody. Sorry, that's all I can ever think about. That line in Lilo and Stitch has always bothered me. I'm gonna cut this out of the podcast because it's not fucking relevant. But in Lilo and Stitch, when he gets run over and the guy comes out of the truck that ran him over,
you gotta call somebody.
Yeah, and he sees Stitch and he emphasizes it just like that. We gotta call somebody. And I just, like, that's like the opposite of the syllables that it feels like you should emphasize in that moment.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. But it took me years to be able to articulate why that bothered me.